Imagine this, a grand stage, an electrified crowd buzzing with anticipation, cameras flashing, and Prince Harry stepping up to the podium at the prestigious Invictus Games in Vancouver. It's supposed to be a powerful moment, celebrating resilience, strength, and perseverance. But then, something happens that no one saw coming. He mentions one name, Meghan Markle, and the room falls completely silent. No applause, not even a polite murmur. Just an eerie, uncomfortable stillness. How did we go from Meghan Markle being a global icon, a breath of fresh air in the royal family, to this? A moment that should have been filled with cheers is now marked by awkward silence. What does it mean when a name that once captured hearts now barely registers in a crowd? In this video, we'll dive deep into the shocking moment at the Invictus Games. We'll explore why Meghan's name was met with silence, and what it reveals about the changing public sentiment toward her and Prince Harry. Is it just a random slip-up? Or is there a deeper story here, one that could change the way we see them forever? Stick with me, because this moment speaks volumes about the fading influence of a couple that once seemed unstoppable, and you won't believe where it's heading. Picture the scene, the Invictus Games, a prestigious event created by Prince Harry to honor wounded veterans, filled with an eager audience, many of whom are soldiers and their families. And then, in a single moment, it all changes. He mentions Meghan Markle's name. What happens next is beyond expectation. The applause that should have followed her name, the polite acknowledgement from an audience that's witnessed their journey from love-struck royals to public figures fighting for causes they believe in, none of that happens. The crowd goes completely silent. No clapping, no murmurs of approval, just an uncomfortable, deafening pause. For those watching closely, this silence isn't just an absence of sound. It's a powerful statement, one that speaks volumes about Meghan Markle's current position in the eyes of the public. But how did we get here? What does it mean when the name of someone who once captivated millions no longer commands the same enthusiastic response? Let's dive in. Remember when Meghan Markle first entered the royal family? It was a whirlwind. She was a Hollywood actress, an outsider to the British royal family, yet she stepped in with grace, ambition, and charm. She wasn't just another royal wife, she was a symbol of change, a modern force, someone who could shake up an institution rooted in centuries-old tradition. Her wedding to Prince Harry was watched by millions, a fairy tale that many believed would reshape the monarchy for the modern world. Meghan was hailed as the breath of fresh air the monarchy desperately needed. But what happened after that? When we fast forward to the present day, things are starkly different. Meghan and Harry's departure from the royal family was supposed to be a fresh start, an escape from the pressure, a chance to live life on their own terms. Yet, the media frenzy didn't subside. If anything, it intensified. Interviews, documentaries, tell-all books, they've dominated the headlines, often painting Meghan as either a victim of a royal institution that wouldn't adapt, or as someone who abandoned her royal duties for fame and fortune. So, what does this mean for Meghan? Why did the crowd at the Invictus Games not respond when Harry mentioned her? It's crucial to understand the backdrop of this moment. The Invictus Games have always been Harry's brainchild. The games were designed to honor the wounded warriors who risked everything for their countries. From the very beginning, the Invictus Games became a symbol of resilience and triumph. Harry's personal connection to the games runs deep. He founded them in 2014, long before any of the royal dramas that would eventually unfold. His commitment to veterans is genuine, and his work has earned him widespread respect in these circles. But here's the catch. The Invictus Games were always about Harry's mission. They were always his project. Meghan, while supportive, was never the driving force behind it. And that's where things get interesting. At the 2017 Toronto Invictus Games, Meghan was there by Harry's side. The couple's love story was in full bloom, and Meghan's presence wasn't just welcomed, it was celebrated. She wasn't a part of the official royal family then, but her connection to Harry and the cause felt genuine. The media spotlight followed her. Yes, but it felt like the public was embracing a new chapter for the monarchy, one that was inclusive, modern, and progressive. But fast forward to the present, and we're left with a silence that could not have been ignored. It's not just about the absence of applause. The silence is a powerful indicator of how Meghan is now perceived in some circles. And make no mistake, this is not just a random event. The Invictus Games were, and are, about honoring veterans, yet the mention of Meghan's name felt disconnected from the cause. This was not a moment about royal drama. It was a moment about courage and perseverance. So why? Then, did Meghan's name fail to elicit any response? Here's where it gets tricky. On one hand, we could argue that the silence was an accidental oversight. Maybe the crowd simply wasn't in the mood to clap. But that doesn't hold up when you consider the context. The audience at the Invictus Games is not just a random mix of people. It's made up of veterans and their families, individuals who value resilience, loyalty, and sacrifice. These are the qualities Harry embodies through his work with the Invictus Games. But Meghan? For them, perhaps she was no longer the figure they once supported. When you step back and look at the broader picture, it becomes clear that Meghan's influence has been ebbing for some time. It's not just the royal exit, the constant media firestorm, or the never-ending battles with the press. It's the cumulative effect of all these things that has gradually chipped away at the admiration she once commanded. But the silence at the Invictus Games tells us something more. The public's patience is wearing thin. The audience at that event wasn't just ignoring her. They were sending a message. Meghan Markle, once the darling of the royal family, no longer has the same gravitational pull she once did. However, let's not get ahead of ourselves. While some argue that this moment was a definitive nail in the coffin for Meghan's popularity, others believe it's being overblown. Could it be that we're reading too much into the silence? Maybe it wasn't a snub. Maybe the crowd just wasn't focused on Meghan. After all, the Invictus Games aren't about royals. They're about honoring the athletes, the veterans, the warriors. Meghan's presence, or lack thereof, may have just been an afterthought. But even so, what does this silence mean for Meghan and Harry going forward? If their influence is indeed on the decline, can they recover from this? And if they can, what does that mean for their future projects? Their media deals, their activism, their brand, they've all been built on the idea that they are icons, that they are capable of shifting narratives. But what happens when that narrative starts to crumble? The key here is the perception of the Sussexes. Meghan was once an icon of modernity, someone who could change the monarchy from within. But now, even her mention at an event designed to celebrate others was met with deafening silence. Is it possible that this is a sign of things to come? Are we witnessing the slow unraveling of a carefully crafted public image? For Harry, this moment is particularly painful. The Invictus Games are deeply personal to him. He created them to provide a platform for veterans, a cause he's fiercely passionate about. But here he is, standing on stage, hoping for the support of the crowd, and what he gets is silence. What must have been going through his mind in that moment? Did he expect the reaction, or was he blindsided by it? The big question remains, is this the beginning of the end for Meghan's influence? Or is it just a one-off incident? It's hard to say. But one thing's for sure, the silence at the Invictus Games is a moment that will linger. It's a moment that speaks to the changing tides of public opinion. And it's a moment that could have a long-lasting impact on Meghan and Harry's public image. Now, as we look forward, the question is, will Meghan and Harry take the necessary steps to reclaim their narrative? Or will they continue down a path where public indifference begins to overshadow their every move? Only time will tell. But for now, the silence speaks louder than any applause ever could. In conclusion, the silence at the Invictus Games after Harry mentioned Meghan's name speaks volumes. It's more than just an awkward pause. It's a stark reflection of the shift in how Meghan is now perceived. Once a beacon of modernity and a symbol of hope, her influence seems to have waned in the eyes of some public audiences. Whether it's the constant media scrutiny, the ongoing controversy surrounding her and Harry, or simply a shift in public priority, one thing is clear: the reception Meghan once enjoyed no longer carries the same weight. So, what does this mean for their future? Will Meghan and Harry manage to pivot their narrative and regain the admiration they once had? Or is this the beginning of a deeper decline in their public standing? How much power does the public's perception truly hold in shaping the success of their future endeavors? The silence at the Invictus Games might be just the tip of the iceberg, but it's certainly a moment that's impossible to ignore. I want to hear your thoughts. Do you think Meghan can recover from this shift in public opinion? Or is the damage done? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to know where you stand on this. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss an in-depth analysis like this one. Join us as we continue to break down the latest stories surrounding the royal family and the Sussexes. We've got plenty more coming your way. Stay tuned.